I mean, we've looked at how Bandai and Playmates have been doing Godzilla recently. Why don't we check out the other major domestic company doing Godzilla and see what Super7 has been up to? From Super7 and Godzilla Retro, this is the Skeleton Godzilla with the Oxygen Destroyer. If you've ever seen the original 1954 Godzilla, this is, well, Godzilla at the end of the movie after he dies horribly. What's really cool is the Oxygen Destroyer has actually been made so it's activated. They did a different version of the Oxygen Destroyer that wasn't activated, so there's two different Oxygen Destroyer toys you can get. But you can see the box, it's very much done in a very kind of faux retro style, and that's Super7's whole bag. The whole point is that it's supposed to be kind of in line with the Kenner Star Wars stuff. I do like the picture of the skeleton behind him, though. It's pretty funny. And then here on the back, you can see the other figures in this wave, Godzilla 64 and King Caesar. I'm actually looking now, seeing like what other characters Super7's done that I might want. Anguirus would be cool. Baragon, I love GMK, so that would be cool. Gigan's always nice. I don't need a lot of these Godzillas. Hedorah would be cool. Jet Jaguar? I mean, it's hard to get a Bandai Jet Jaguar, so he'd be fun. I really want this Mecha Godzilla that's like half disguised as normal Godzilla. That'd be really cool. Mothra. I can always go for a Mothra. Can always go for a King Ghidorah. Manila? I could go for a Manila. Basically what I'm saying is, if I ever find a lot of these, I would probably pick them up. But like a lot of Super7 stuff, I do think that a lot of them are just a little bit too expensive for what they are. But it's also nice because they do scale somewhat well with other Godzilla lines on the market right now. And they are, generally speaking, very well detailed. But with all that said, why don't we get them out of the box? And unlike most unboxings, we're just going to do this on screen, because why not? It's a very simple box to get into. Boop. Boop. Yay. Can he open his jaw? Please, please. Nah, he can't open his jaw. Oh, well. Even still, skeleton warriors. Yeah, he looks pretty good in that pose. Looks pretty good in that pose, too. Alright, I can confirm, when it comes to posing like a dead guy, this figure is a 10 out of 10. Real talk, I'm really liking the design here. The paint and sculpting are both really well done. I actually just recently rewatched the original Godzilla movie with my buddy Cam, and this is more or less screen perfect to the skeleton, or at least the glimpses of it that we see. I even like that they captured the dorsal plates very well. I like the general proportions, the size, everything about it. And that's besides the fact that it's a very unique Godzilla. I don't know if any other company's ever gone for dead Godzilla, but it's kind of cool Super7 did. The head sculpt is really nice as well. I love the big openings for where the nostrils and the eyes would be. It is a bit goofy looking, but again, it is screen accurate. The general paint wash of the figure is just very nice, especially for a cheap US toy. You can see how there's black, gray, beige, all these different colors put throughout the entire skeleton, making it look really worn and disgusting. Yeah, this guy is gross. Here's what surprised me, is he has some decent articulation, like only 5 points, but check this out, right? 1, you have head articulation, but the joint's actually here at the base of the neck, so you get good range out of it. Past that, you have a swivel here at either shoulder, and swivels in the hips. You can get him into a few different poses, especially if you're okay with kind of goofier poses, like he's going around saying hello to the neighbors. So, in that way, he's better than a lot of the Bandai vinyls I like so much. You can actually get him in a couple different looks. However, the real highlight of this set has to be the Oxygen Destroyer. It's really well done. Great silver paint, good sculpting. It looks exactly like the prop did. It would have been cool if maybe there was like a super tiny Dr. Serizawa to go with this, but, you know, beggars can't be choosers. I like that we just got this thing in a cheap figure. You know, I'm sure that Monster Arts and Super7 Ultimates would also do a Oxygen Destroyer, but those figures go for like $100, $200, $300. A $20 figure getting such an important prop is really nice, especially for a series of figures that usually don't come with accessories. I don't know how to break the news to you. Godzilla usually doesn't come with baseball bats or hammers. I will point out, he is a lot smaller than Bandai vinyl figures. But then someone told me the other day that apparently this might not be bad scaling necessarily, because generally speaking, Godzilla monsters have only been getting bigger over time, with Legendary Godzilla being one of the largest Godzillas. Showa Godzilla, or at the very least, original 54 Godzilla, actually was a bit of a runt when it comes to all the Godzillas we've seen, so this might actually be kind of accurate, weirdly enough. What's even weirder is how well he scales with that tiny Bandai vinyl Mechagodzilla. I kind of complained about how small he was compared to the other vinyls, but he would actually go really well with the Super 7 collection. Super 7's done plenty of Mechagodzillas of their own, but you look at these two, you can definitely see how that skeleton would fit into that robot. He's also a lot smaller than Playmate's Godzilla, but again, apparently that's somewhat accurate. Legendary Godzilla would be a lot bigger than this guy. My big hangup here is this Godzilla worth it? I mean, let's just compare Gojis here, right? That's a $20 Godzilla. That's a $10 Godzilla. That is a $20 Godzilla. He's twice the price of that guy, and the same price as that guy. And even though I like the Skeleton Godzilla, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't like him twice as much as this guy, and I don't like him as much as that guy. He's a cool enough figure, but like a lot of Super 7 stuff, I don't know if I personally see the value here. It's funny that we're back to having this conversation again, but if you saw my Sunday Shockwave about the Super 7 Retro Shockwave, you're going to hear a point I made there all over again. These guys were not made by a super tiny company. These are not art house figures. These aren't people on Etsy making their own toys. Super 7's a pretty big company. I mean, it's so big that it has licenses from Transformers to Power Rangers, G.I. Joe, now, of course, Godzilla. Like, they have some pretty deep pockets and some pretty strong pull within the industry. This isn't a mom and pop shop down the road, even though a lot of people treat Super 7 like a mom and pop shop. And sure, you can make the point that Bandai and Hasbro are bigger companies, and thus they're able to put more of their resources to work to get better deals from factories, but Blockies doesn't have that. Blockies is themselves a license holder. And yet, for $8, they give us toys that are incredibly well painted, very well sculpted, come with a bunch of accessories, and are generally speaking just better representations of these characters. Super 7's Retro Transformers line I enjoy, but I don't think it's worth the money. And I think I would say the same about this Godzilla. Maybe I'll look at other Retro Godzillas someday and I'll say, oh, well, Super 7 Retro Mothra or Retro Super 7 Rodan is super worth the money, and I was incredibly wrong with that Skeleton Godzilla. I just didn't see the beauty of it at the time. That happens all the time. I can't tell you how many times I make a review, and then a few weeks later I think, I was way too easy on that toy, I was way too hard on that toy, oh, I love this thing after I sat on it for a bit, oh, I hate this thing after I've messed with it for a few more days. It happens. But I've never changed my disposition on Super 7. I think a lot of people like to go to bat for Super 7. They're like the Super 7 Defense Force. The same thing happens with NECA all the time. And I just don't understand the fanaticism around Super 7. They've made some toys I've really enjoyed. I think that, generally speaking, they can make some pretty good sculpts. They've made some good toys. But I think they also ask way too much money, and I think that they occasionally get kind of weird in terms of how they do messaging, and they've also wasted some of the licenses they've had in the past with their whole obsession with doing super niche deep cuts that even a lot of the fans don't want. The Godzilla line, by all accounts, is pretty spectacular from Super 7, and I would like a couple of their toys. I would like to get their Ultimate Space Godzilla. I would like to get their Ultimates -1 Godzilla. But that doesn't change the fact that I do still think that they're more expensive than what they should be, and I can doubly say that for that retro skeleton. The best thing I can say about this Godzilla is he's incredibly unique. There's not another readily available toy quite like him for Godzilla fans. The Oxygen Destroyer is an awesome accessory to have, and having him standing upright or using him as a skeleton for a Godzilla display, either way would be a ton of fun, a great use for this figure. He's I'd be happier with him for $10. I'd be happier with him for 15. 20 is pushing it. Perhaps it's pushing it just a bit too far. As always, here's the Godzilla collection as it stands right now. And even if it's a toy that I think has issues, the skeleton's a really nice addition to it. I don't have another toy like it. I really enjoy seeing all these characters together still, and there's still a lot that I would need versions of. You know, Gigan, Mecha King Ghidorah, I like a few more Mothras, maybe a Rodan, that'd be cool. Megalon, for some reason, I would really like, just because, he's a weird beetle dude. Biolante would be super sweet. I'm literally just going to keep naming Godzilla monsters. The point is, I'm happy with where this collection's going. Like I said, I'd never want it to become like a major thing, but the toys are so cheap, I enjoy them so much, and there's enough overlap between Godzilla and how there's some very tenuous relationships with Pokemon and Transformers, the collections I really do have passion for and have a lot of space dedicated to, that having a little corner of the room given to Godzilla really doesn't seem all that unappealing to me. I love these guys so far, and I'm hoping to get a few more that I like just as much. But yeah, overall, Skeleton Godzilla, yay or nay? If you are super passionate about the original movie, if you're already collecting Super 7, if you just need something new and different for your shelf, and he's on sale, yeah, get him. If he was $15, it's a recommend. If he was $10, it's a buy that now. 20? I just don't know. I mean, that's only 2 Playmates figures, $20, and I'm just saying, right now, 2 Playmates figures is the Drowned Viper and Tiamat, or the Drowned Viper and Shimo, or the Drowned Viper and One Eye, or the Drowned Viper and Mechagodzilla, or the Drowned Viper and King Ghidorah, or the Drowned Viper and Mothra. I don't know if you caught the bit here. The point is, you should just buy the Drowned Viper.